I've completed my schedule, but I've been told by my project lead that I need to improve the graphical quality of this schedule to make it look less tabular. So there are a number of things that I need to do. Firstly, I'm just going to tile the windows so I can see my room schedule sheet and the room schedule together in one view. So to do that, I can go to View, Tile Views, and here I have the room schedule on my left, the actual schedule view, and then the room schedule on the right, so I can see the changes that I make in both. Firstly, I need to change the order of some of these columns. So I'm going to go into my schedule, I'm going to go to Fields, I'm going to move the number and the name above the department, so that now the room number, the room name and the department are in that order. What I'd like to do is group the headings here under one sort of subheading called identity or identification, so that I can just easily group these columns together. So what I can do, go back into my schedule view. You'll notice that we haven't really discussed any of these tools up in the ribbon here, but we're going to focus this lecture on the titles and headers section here and the appearance here. So what I can do is I can click and drag across these three headings, and then I can select Group up in the ribbon under the titles and headings section, and you can see that this has now grouped these three headers under one header. So I can type in here identification, click enter, and you can see it's updated it on the sheet. I can select in this box, and now I can change the horizontal alignment to left, and I can also change the horizontal alignment in the headings here by clicking in one and dragging and letting go my mouse button in the last one, on the third one. Align horizontally left. But now what I can also do, because I know that the identification is the header, I can actually reduce the width of this header and remove the word room from both of these by selecting into the header and removing. I also want to make the number a little wider to give a bit of a gap between the number and the name, so I can click on the A field, and under columns I can click resize, and I'll make this 25mm to give me a bit of a gap here. I also want to group the areas under one heading as well, so I can select in the area square meter box, click and drag to the end. I can group these, and I can type in the word area, click enter. Again, I can align it horizontally to the left, and now I can remove the word area from the title here because it's defined by the fact that it's under the area heading. And you can see it's also then changed the height of the schedule here. I now want to change the grid for this schedule because the grid lines are very dark and it covers pretty much every single grid line. So what I can do in my room schedule, I can select in the field identity headers here, select A through to G. I can then click on the borders property, and this will allow me to change the border style for the individual schedule, in a sense that I can, a bit like Excel, I can change the top, right, bottom, left and center lines. So I can click none, for example, and it will remove the grid lines from the schedule. I'm actually going to go and create a new line style to use for this schedule. So I'll go to the Manage tab, Additional Settings, Line Styles, create a new subcategory called Schedule Grid Lines, click OK, and I'm going to change this line color to this 128 RGB color here. So click OK, go back into my schedule, have the entire schedule still selected, click on Borders. I can then click on Schedule Grid Lines, and I can select in these buttons here which lines I'd like to see. So I know I'd prefer to have the grid lines just horizontally, so I'm going to add the grid line to the top, between each of the cells, and then at the bottom. So if I click OK, sometimes Revit has a habit of doing this. It tends to just reset the grid. So what you have to do is sometimes just have a bit of a play and click on the schedule again, click on the borders, click None, then click on Schedule Grid Lines, select each one again, click OK, and now it's updated. It's a little bit temperamental with that. I've experienced on a number of different versions of Revit. We need to do the same for the room schedule, so the header, so I can click in the room schedule box, click Borders, and click None, and I just want to add in the bottom one here. There we go. So this is now looking a little bit cleaner, and you can see more of the text rather than it being full of grid lines. I now want to change the header to make it also left aligned, so I can go into the schedule view, selecting in the title, align horizontal. I can change that to left, and I can also go back into the appearance, and I can make the title text say 3.5mm Arial to make it a bit larger. What I can do in this title box, I can actually insert an image. So for example, if I had an image that I wanted to use for the title rather than just some text, I can insert that. So I can do Insert Image. I have a logo here that if I open, replaces the title with an image. So I've included a logo here of, for example, my company. However, you cannot change the scale or the size or the text, and you can see that it also pixelates it due to the resolution of the image. So it's just an option, but it's not something that we implement in practice. So I'm just going to undo that, but I just thought I would mention it. So I can add some shading to these two group headers just to distinguish them a little bit. So I'm just going to click in Identification. In this box here, I can click Shading, and I'm just going to make them light version of grey. And then in the area, I'm just going to make it slightly darker. You can have any colour you like. However, I prefer to go for more simple colouring. And again, you can change the shading of any of these headers by clicking in the individual one and click on shading. So if you wanted to have it in a light red, for example, you could, and it would colour in the number there. You can also shade entire columns. So if I clicked on A and clicked on shading, I could shade the entire column a light yellow, for example. And that shades the group header and the number. I'm going to undo that because I'm going to keep it as it was, and I'm going to undo that. If I wanted to add some further information about this room schedule into the actual schedule title, what I can do is, if I click on room schedule, I can click on Insert, and I can click below selected, and it will add a row of headers below here. I can then merge these four together, and then I could start typing some information such as schedule containing all room data for building B23. I can change this font if I wish by selecting in the cell, selecting font, and changing this from Arial 3.5 to 2.5. I could also change the color and make it bold, italic, and underline. I can then select again in the box here, and select resize, a bit like for the columns. I can select resize, so I could make this 7mm high if I wished. I can also change the room schedule actual title heading to 7mm as well, and that will reduce the size here. So you can see it's now applied that to everywhere. I need to look at reducing the width of my schedule in order to fit all the information on. I'll probably change department. So I select on C, resize, and I'll change this to say 28. Hopefully that now fits the schedule in. Now I'll try again. Just 26. And that fits in there. You can also change the font of individual columns and headers if you wish. So if I could change select on this A column and change the font, I could change this to any one of these fonts. So let's just pick one at random, Georgia, click OK, and this overrides the font in the appearance to the font that you specified here. I'm going to undo that edit font. So that's just showing you how I can change the font specifically. Just whilst we're in the room schedule editing and looking at the ribbon, if I wanted to, I could freeze the headers. So for example, if I need to input some data in a schedule view, I can click on freeze headers, and if I scroll down, it'll keep the headers so I can see which column I am typing any information in, if I've got a schedule that's got multiple columns. If I untick freeze headers, it disappears. I have also got the option to add calculated values and combine parameters, which are the same thing as here, adding calculate parameters or values and combining parameters. And I can also insert, delete, hide and unhide columns, which acts as the inserting fields, and also in the formatting. When I've clicked hidden field, that effectively allows me, it's the same thing as clicking hide here. So I'm happy with my schedule now. It looks a lot better. If I just go to view, tab views, that looks a lot better and more like the kind of thing that I would be happy to send out to a client.